Sumter School District boys and girls, and welcome to another evening of Reading with the Superintendent. As promised, we will continue to share time with you until the end of June, because why? We love you. This evening, I have a wonderful individual who's joining us this evening, and her name is Mrs. Chua. Well, good evening, Mrs. Chua. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm just dandy. I'm so excited to have you here.
I am stoked to be here. Couldn't
Well,
wait.
why don't you tell our viewers just a little bit about yourself?
All right. Well, I love to dance, if you couldn't tell. But my name is Amy Chua, and I teach third grade at Alice Drive Elementary, the Hive on the Drive, as we call it. And I've been teaching for 6 years, and I'm looking forward to 50 more.
And we're looking to have you for 50 more and then some. So is there a message that you may like to communicate to our viewers?
Well, first of all, I just want to give a big shout out to all of my students. If you're watching, I miss you and I love you so much. And I hope that you are playing outside, because you know I always tell you, put down those electronics and go play outside. And I hope you are reading, because you can bet that I'm reading every day something, whether I'm reading a funny story or a magazine article, or if I'm trying to learn about something, looking up articles about something. So I hope that you are doing the same thing. And I know this has been kind of a crazy year. It's been a lot of things that we could not have expected, and we've had to go through a lot of things together. So I hope you are just remembering that we are Sumter Strong.
Oh, yes. Thank you for that reminder. We are Sumter Strong. Why don't you share with our viewers the book that we may be reading this evening?
One of my favorites. I know some of you have probably heard this story before. I remember this story being read to me by our school librarian when I was probably in the first or second grade, and ever since then it's been one of my favorites. It is called Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. And I have to give a shout out to my niece Ellie, because I know this is one of her favorite books, and I know she's watching this. So hey, Ellie.
Hi, Ellie. I also failed to mention something else, Mrs. Chua, that you are one of our 3 finalists for Teacher of the Year for the Sumter School District. So woo-hoo to you, and thank you for all that you do each and every day for the wonderful children you serve. And I have had the pleasure of visiting your classroom several times during the year, and I just want to publicly tell you you're magnificent.
Well, thank you. I'm just a small part of something much bigger. So,
well, we appreciate that. We appreciate that, and you. So at this time, we're going to prepare our viewers for reading, and I think they know the routine. 1, 2, 3, all eyes on me. 1, 2, eyes on you, Mrs. Chua.
All right.
Let me begin reading.
So I have to mention the author of the story, because the author and the illustrator are always very important. They wrote the book, they illustrated the book, so we can't leave them out. This book was written by Judith Vorst and illustrated by Ray Cruz. I went to sleep with gum in my mouth, and now there's gum in my hair. And when I got out of bed this morning, I tripped on the skateboard, and by mistake, I dropped my sweater in the sink while the water was running. And I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day.
Yeah, I think it started with the gum in the hair. Have you ever had gum in your hair, Mrs. Chua?
I don't think I have. I think that's something I would remember, and I don't remember that ever happening. Thank goodness.
Yeah, I don't think that would go over very well. At breakfast, Anthony found a Corvette Stingray car kit in his breakfast cereal box, and Nick found a junior undercover agent code ring in his breakfast cereal box, but in my breakfast cereal box, all I found was breakfast cereal. I think a move to Australia. I wonder why Australia?
I don't know. I've never been to Australia, though. I'd like to visit there someday.
I think that would be a nice trip.
Me too. In the carpool, Mrs. Gibson let Becky have a seat by the window. Audrey and Elliot got seats by the window, too. I said I was being scrunched. I said I was being smushed. I said, if I don't get a seat by the window, I'm going to be car sick. No one even answered. I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day.
Where do you like to ride in the car?
I like to ride in the front seat, shotgun.
Okay. At school, Mrs. Dickens liked Paul's picture of the sailboat better than my picture of the invisible castle. At singing time, she said I sang too loud. At counting time, she said I left out 16. Who needs 16? I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day.
I liked his invisible castle.
I think it was gorgeous.
I could tell because Paul said I wasn't his best friend anymore. He said that Philip Parker was his best friend and that Albert Moyo was his next best friend and that I was only his third best friend. I hope you sit on a tack, I said to Paul. I hope the next time you get a double-decker strawberry ice cream cone, the ice cream part falls off the cone part and lands in Australia.
I wonder why everything is about Australia.
I don't know. I was wondering the same thing.
Yeah, hopefully we'll find out. There were 2 cupcakes in Philip Parker's lunch bag, and Albert got a Hershey bar with almonds, and Paul's mother gave him a piece of jelly roll that had little coconut sprinkles on top. Guess whose mother forgot to put in dessert? It was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. Chua, all those things that they mentioned, I'd like those. I just have never had a jelly roll. Have you ever?
I haven't either. I'm trying to imagine what a jelly roll is. But all I can see is like a cinnamon bun. But I have a feeling that's not the same thing.
Yeah, maybe I'll go and try and find one day.
Well, find 2.
I will.
That's what it was, because after school, my mom took us all to the dentist. And Dr. Fields found a cavity just in me. Come back next week and I'll fix it, said Dr. Fields. Next week, I said, I'm going to Australia.
Well, I think the cavity came from maybe the Hershey's with almonds, the jelly roll.
Maybe the jelly roll.
Maybe the jelly roll. But this just gets even more drastic because on the way downstairs, the elevator door closed on my foot. And while we were waiting for my mom to go get the car, Anthony made me fall where it was muddy. And then when I started crying because of the mud, Nick said I was a crybaby. And, oh, baby.
I don't know how it could get much worse than that.
Me either.
While I was punching Nick for saying crybaby, my mom came back with the car and scolded me for being muddy and fighting. I am having a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. I told everybody. No one even answered.
No one's listening. So then we went to the shoe store to buy some sneakers. Anthony chose white ones with blue stripes. Nick chose red ones with white stripes. I chose blue ones with red stripes, but then the shoe man said, "We're all sold out." They made me buy plain old white ones, but they can't make me wear them. That has to be the worst of everything. You want a pair of shoes and they don't have your size?
I was going to say, that was a fitting page for you to read. But I think that you'd be able to rock some all white shoes.
I would. I think I would.
When we picked up my dad at his office, he said I couldn't play with his copying machine, but I forgot. He also said to watch out for the books on his desk, and I was careful as could be except for my elbow. He also said don't fool around with his phone, but I think I called Australia. My dad said, please don't pick him up anymore. It was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day.
It's Australia again.
Hey, we should show that picture one more time because that's what phones used to look like.
Absolutely. And maybe we can use that as a part of a lesson to see how many kids could use.
That's right. Because I bet some of our students have never seen a phone like that.
Absolutely. Especially the ones with the rotary.
Yes. My grandmother had one of those. It was fire engine red and it's so fun. So fun.
Well, it's only getting worse.
It's worse.
Because there were lima beans for dinner, and I hate lima beans. There was a kissing on TV, and I hate kissing. So I don't really eat lima beans either, Mrs. Chua. Do you eat lima beans?
I love lima beans.
You do?
Especially when they get mixed in with your rice a little bit, and you get some rice, some lima beans in the same bite. Yeah.
Well, I will eat them, but not separate. They have to have one extra ingredient.
What's that?
Okra.
Ah! Good one.
Okra, lima beans, and then add the rice.
There you go. Sounds good. Uh-oh. This doesn't look good. My bath was too hot. I got soap in my eyes. My marble went down the drain, and I had to wear my railroad train pajamas. I hate my railroad train pajamas. I think they're pretty cool.
I was going to say, I think they're kind of cute.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad he was able to not hurt himself in that hot bath.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure we test it to make sure it's not too hot. When I went to bed, Nick took back the pillow he said I could keep, and the Mickey Mouse night light burned out, and I bit my tongue. The cat wants to sleep with Anthony and not me. It was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. My mom says some days are like that. I just can't do the biting the tongue thing. That has to.
That hurts for days. Days.
Yes.
So some days are like that, she said.
Mm-hmm.
Even in Australia.
Wow. So, Ms. Chua, after we've read Alexander and all of his terrible, horrible, no good, very bad days, what do we want to tell our children the message is from our reading?
We want you to know that everybody has days like that. It doesn't matter if you are a child, an adult, a grandma, a grandpa, an aunt, an uncle, even your pets can have bad days. So what we have to do is we have to focus on what we can do, how we respond to the things that happen to us and the situations that we find ourselves in, because there's always something to be grateful for. There's always something that we can focus on that's positive and keep that smile on.
Absolutely. And I have a philosophy that you can't get upset over those things you can't control.
That's right.
You can't control everything, but those things you can't control, you're getting mad at it because, I don't know. But I always try to focus on the positive and always find the good in everything. But what I do as an adult when I get upset or when I have a bad day, I always find the nearest child. A child always brings joy to my day. And I'm having a hard time because I've not been able to see them in a very long time. So one of the things I do is I always go back and I look at my Twitter feed and I look at my Facebook feed and find a picture and I think about that day. And so that's how I overcome. And the other thing that I do, my husband doesn't like, but I'll just go buy a pair of shoes. But it's striped.
That sounds perfect. That sounds perfect. You're going to have to teach me your ways.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm barefoot as we speak. I'm barefoot.
Well, you know, it has been an absolute pleasure, as always, reading with you. And I can't wait to see you in person. And I can't wait to see our children in person. And I just want to thank you again for sharing the evening with me, Mrs. Chua.
Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It's been a blast, and I wouldn't have missed it. So thank you again. And thank you for all that you do, not just for our students, but for teachers. We appreciate it.
Thank you. You're so welcome. And thank you for that. So as we leave you for the evening, we'll never leave you permanently. Understand we miss you. We can't wait to see you. Have a great evening and have a great summer. Have a good one, Mrs. Chua. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Take it away, Mrs. Chua. Take it away. Here it comes.
I just wanna rollie with a dapper ranch. I already got some designer to hold on my pants. I just want some ice on my wrist so I look better when I dance. I be looking at it, put you in a